This story was submitted by Garrett. This story has been kept between my two friends and I since my junior year of high school. I am now 20 and attend college. I don't get to see them much anymore since one is back home and the other recently joined the Navy. I miss them, but that summer was one we will not forget. It was the summer between my junior year and senior year of high school, and I also considered it to be my last summer to try new things. I had recently broke up with my ex-girlfriend and I figured I wasn't tied down, and it was great. I also figured that this was my last free summer before life caught up with me, meaning I had to act my age and get a job. My friend Justin's house was the main hangout, and my friend Randy was actually Justin's friend, but we became quite close as we were both mature compared to Justin. We had all started our summer hanging out almost every day. One summer night, after longboarding around the neighborhood for a while, we stopped by a little park with a hut to sit down. This was close to the edge of his neighborhood, and actually faced a wetland preserve that anyone could hike on the trail nearby, so we sat down and decided to hit a joint. This was my first time, so I gave it a shot just to see how I'd like it since they'd done it before. "Come on, man, it's not that bad," Randy muttered to me as I coughed up the first puff. Justin laughed and it caused me to roll my eyes. For some reason, in that moment, I thought I had seen a shadow-like figure facing us on the path that leads to the wetland. Puzzled, I took another look back and saw nothing, so I assumed I was finally feeling the effects of the joint. After our break, we longboarded back to his house and we were having a great time, but as young high school kids that were now high as a kite, we decided to go towards Randy's house for the heck of it. We had to take his car since it was across town, but it was more or less a 10-minute drive. On our way there, he mentioned to Justin and me that he lived near a really creepy abandoned house that everyone at his high school talked about. For some reason, Justin and I couldn't resist and asked if we could go see this house. Randy was thrilled to show us because he had been there once before. We passed his house and just kept going down the road. We live in a town that is known for its sudden urban-rural areas, but at this time of night, the empty fields of farmland just creep me the fuck out. It was only about 5 minutes from Randy's house that we arrived at this creepy house. I've only been there that once, but I'll try to explain it in as much detail as I can. With the moon out, the field was basically a glimmer of light from the road. There was no driveway, and the house sat about 20 meters off the main road. Looking at it in almost pitch darkness was creepy enough. We passed it to turn around, which also exposed a huge tree to the right behind it. In front of that tree was a large garage that was obviously leaning to one side, creating a warped-like appearance. If it already sounds creepy, then you can imagine what Justin and I felt. Another thing that was off-putting was the tall grass or wheat that was covering the field. You could clearly see it was untouched, but Randy had other plans and dove headfirst into the field with his car. Now his headlights were facing the house. There were absolutely no windows and only empty holes to replace them. On the right side of the house was a tree that had started growing through the house, covering the right side. Graffiti stained the inside and out, and a no trespassing sign hung in clear view. This is truly what I imagined horror movies would have in it. We all got the gut feeling that it was sketchy, but that gave us the adrenaline to try to come up with an idea to get in. Randy said that he overheard some people at school say that inside this house was an untouched room that was literally still as perfect as any new house, but seeing it from the outside showed little hope that that was true. Unfortunately, I also wanted to check it out. Justin was very unsure about this whole thing, but we got him to come. The tough part was finding a way in through all the tall grass. Most of the windows were wired shut, except one area around back. It appeared to once be a downstairs bathroom, but over time it had fallen apart, though this left a door frame that was wired, but pried open enough for us to get in. We had to go one by one, and no one wanted to go first, but Randy ended up going. Once we got inside, we turned our phone lights on, because we heard moving over our heads. We came to the conclusion really fast that the noises were coming from birds that were nesting in the house. After having one of our trips over the birds in our high state, we began our journey through the bottom half of the house. Junk was scattered everywhere. We even found a box to one of those boards you use to contact a ghost on the ground, As if this place hadn't already had a sketchy feeling, now it might be haunted. But I shouldn't have thought that. We found the stairs and pointed the light over towards them, noticing an open door which led to the kitchen. There on the counter was the board for the ghosts, but we brushed it off. Slowly we crept up the rotting stairs, hoping that we wouldn't fall through and we would make it to the second floor. To our right was a doorway that was wide and showed an opened room. It had some sleeping bags and garbage scattered through the room. Once again we thought nothing of it, since Randy said that he had been there before. We looked to the left of the room to see that it was taken over by the tree that had grown through the house, so there wasn't much of this room left. Behind us was another door, but it was just a bathroom. This whole place kind of looked like a house you'd see in a Fallout game. I kid you not. So we turned around to head towards the stairs to leave. We were all standing for a second talking about how unhappy we were we didn't find a room that was out of place, when once again we began to turn. Randy turned the corner first to face the doorway with the sleeping bags. He suddenly glanced up and stopped. Dead silence. I asked him what was wrong, but he was silent. Curiously, I peeked over his shoulder to see what was up. My heart stopped and my mouth dropped. The light was illuminating a set of eyes that were definitely not there before. This figure was in the corner of the far right side. Justin anxiously grew stubborn as he thought Randy was playing a joke and yelled at him to move. The figure then jumped up, and the eyes turned sideways like a dog would to a weird sound. It was obviously a man with dirty long hair and little clothes on, but he was acting very animal-like. In that split silence, we heard the noise of wire crashing against one of the rooms downstairs. The only way out was the way we got in, and we figured we were trapped in this fucking house. Before the man could even move towards us, we flew down the stairs. Justin screamed as he fell on top of me, so obviously I stopped to lift him up, only to see the man behind us at the top of the stairs. Luckily in no hurry to climb down, because he was on all fours squatting down. That's when he slowly started coming down. We didn't stick around long enough to see him take advances towards us because we wanted out. We bolted through the bottom level to the way we came in. Randy flew out the opening, and somehow Justin had gotten in front of me. I was eager to join Randy, and I could feel breathing down my back, and I didn't want to look. Justin finally got through, and as I went to throw my first leg through, a huge man with a gut-wrenching smile came from the darkness to the side. Once I got my leg out, and half of my body, I knew I was home free, until he grabbed my other leg. I kicked and screamed as Justin and Randy pulled on the other side trying to get me out. The moon lit everything enough that I had to look back, only to see both men with huge grins on their faces and eyes wide as could be. The moon casting a sinister look upon their already fucked up faces was terrifying. With some luck, I got free when I felt another pair of hands try to grab me and pull my pants leg up. I have no idea why they were doing that, but I fell to the ground. We ran back to the car without turning around. I remember that night now as the first night and last night that I will ever do weed because of the trip I had while experiencing that horror. That summer was never the same, and sometimes I wonder if the dark figure I saw around Justin's neighborhood had something to do with our future plans that night. Maybe something was trying to give me a warning. It's hard to say, but I have never been back to that house, and I never planned to be. Recently I learned it was taken down due to some type of deal involving the farmer's land, but it also mentioned very shortly that police were involved for some reason. We were just too scared to tell anyone due to us being high, but now we realize we may not have come out of that house that night. Or, possibly only I would have been the one to not make it out. If Justin and Randy hadn't pulled me and ran instead, I could have met a terrible fate. I'm almost sure they were getting ready to take a bite out of my leg. How lucky I was to slip my leg away at that moment. Now that the house is gone, I feel like I had to get this off of my chest somehow. It was, and still is, the most horrifying night of my life. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with your friends. If you would like a chance to have your story featured in an upcoming video, make sure you check the description for information on how to submit your stories. I hope you're all having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you in the next video. And just remember, it's always scarier if it's true.